ever get that feeling? Like you're about to make a big decision, a real life changer. Maybe finally buying a place or like tackling a huge renovation.
Right.
And then bam, the economy throws a curveball and suddenly everything feels so much more, what's the word?
Precarious?
Precarious. Like the stakes just got way higher.
You're definitely not alone feeling that way, especially with everything that's going on with international trade right now. It's definitely adding another layer of complexity to things.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today, the Ottawa housing market. Specifically, how it's all playing out with these new tariffs the U.S. just slapped on Canadian goods.
Right.
We've been digging into some reports on this, and let me tell you, the impact's real. It's hitting people right here in Ottawa, probably people listening right now.
Absolutely.
So what we want to do is break it all down for you, give you that clear picture. What are people worried about right now? Is there anything good that could come out of this? What's a long game?
Right.
It's about making sense of all this uncertainty.
Exactly. Because what we're talking about is how these big international decisions end up impacting regular folks here in Ottawa, folks who are just trying to buy or sell a home.
Totally. So first things first. What's the vibe out there? We saw this report about a potential home buyer in Ottawa who described the whole process as more stressful than exciting, which is, not what you want to hear. Their big worry was that these tariffs are going to make everything more expensive, groceries, fixing the car, even those random home repairs that pop up.
Yeah.
And it's on top of an already massive financial commitment. Makes sense that they'd be feeling the pressure.
And that really shows how these big economic policies hit home. Literally, it's not just numbers and charts. It's about whether someone can afford their life, achieve that dream of owning a place.
Couldn't agree more. And it's not just the buyers who are feeling it. We also found information about a homeowner in Ottawa struggling to sell their property. They're convinced it's all because of these tariffs. Like potential buyers are holding back, waiting for prices to drop, which just proves how much people's expectations, what they think will happen, actually influences what does happen in the market.
That's market psychology for you. It's powerful. Even just the anticipation of change, even before the tariffs fully kick in, can make people act differently. Buyers and sellers, both. It can really shape the market.
And it sounds like this isn't just a couple of isolated cases. We came across a quote from a local mortgage expert, and they were saying that these anxieties, these questions like, is this the right time to buy? Or should I be freaking out about the market? Those are like the most common things they're hearing right now from people in Ottawa.
Well, yeah, I mean, when the economy throws a wrench in the gears, people get cautious, especially when it comes to huge decisions like buying a house. You don't want to jump in if you're not sure what's coming next.
Totally. So lots of uncertainty, lots of questions. But here's where things get interesting. This same mortgage expert also mentioned something that might give people a little hope, a little breathing room. The possibility of interest rates dropping.
Okay, so this is a really important point. When you zoom out and look at the bigger economic picture, central banks often use interest rates to kind of steer things, Tariffs can put a damper on economic growth. And one way to try and counter that is by making it cheaper to borrow money.
Right, and we know the Bank of Canada's policy rate is hovering around 3% right now. Plus, they've got that big announcement coming up on March 12th. So let's say interest rates do go down. What does that actually mean for people in the housing market? Like, what changes?
Well, the most obvious change is that mortgages become more affordable. Lower interest rates mean you're paying less to borrow money. So existing homeowners, their monthly payments could go down. And for people looking to buy for the first time, they might suddenly qualify for a bigger loan, which is huge. Essentially, your money stretches further.
And that can make a big difference, right? The report even compared this situation to what happened during the pandemic. Yeah. Remember how interest rates plummeted and then the housing market just went crazy?
Right.
There's definitely a sense that another drop could give people that boost of confidence that's been missing lately.
Yeah, it's like a jump start for the market. When mortgages are less of a burden, people are more likely to take the plunge, especially those who've been hesitant because of the whole tariff situation.
And this can be huge for first-time buyers,
yeah,
which is awesome. We saw that the head of the Ottawa Real Estate Board actually said that lower interest rates could be the thing that finally allows these buyers who've been priced out for so long to finally afford a place in Ottawa. It's like a silver lining in all this uncertainty.
It is. For people trying to get into the market, even a small dip in interest rates can make or break their ability to buy a home. It can be the difference between owning a place and renting forever.
For sure. Okay, so let's zoom out even further. One thing the report pointed out is that Ottawa's real estate market is typically pretty stable, and that's largely thanks to the strong presence of the public sector, which brings a certain level of economic security.
Yeah, that's a good point. When you have a large and stable public sector, it acts as a kind of buffer against the ups and downs of the economy. It's less vulnerable to the whims of international trade compared to places that rely heavily on private industries.
Right. But here's the thing. We saw some data from the Ottawa Real Estate Board, and it turns out home sales in January were already 13% below the city's 5-year average for that month. So things were already slowing down even before these tariffs came into play.
Right. So we had some underlying factors already influencing the market, and then the tariffs come along and just add another layer of complexity, another layer of who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, and that unpredictability is kind of the key takeaway here. The report actually quoted the real estate board president as saying that the only thing certain about these tariffs is uncertainty. It's a mouthful, but it's true. Trade policies can change so quickly, it makes predicting the future almost impossible.
And that makes it tough for everyone. People who want to buy are hesitant. People who want to sell are hesitant. Even the experts are hesitant to make any bold predictions. It's a tough spot to be in.
But then the real estate board president brought up this other angle, which I thought was really interesting. They said that maybe instead of obsessing over price fluctuations in the existing housing stock, we should be paying more attention to the potential impact on new home construction.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge point. Those tariffs on imported goods, they can have a significant impact on the cost of building materials.
Exactly. Because if things like steel and lumber get more expensive, it makes building new homes less profitable for builders. They might just hold off on starting new projects altogether.
Exactly. When materials cost more, the financial risk for developers goes up. It's like, do we really want to invest in this project when the cost of everything is through the roof? It's a tough call.
And this ties into another problem that's already plaguing the Ottawa market. Remember, we talked about how there just aren't enough homes to meet the demand from buyers. Well, if these tariffs lead to even fewer new homes being built, that problem could get way worse.
It's a potential domino effect, and not a good one. You already have limited supply, and then you reduce the number of new homes coming onto the market. It's a recipe for even higher prices in the long run, even if there's some initial cooling because of the tariff uncertainty.
So for someone out there thinking about making a move in Ottawa, what's the bottom line? What should they take away from all of this?
Well, first off, it's clear that people are stressed. Both buyers and sellers are feeling the uncertainty around these trade policies. The fear of rising costs and falling prices, that's real, and it's understandable.
But there's also that glimmer of hope with potential interest rate drops. That could make homes more affordable, and it could be a real game changer for first-time buyers.
Absolutely. But, and this is a big but, the reality is that the situation is super unpredictable. Trade policies can flip on a dime, and that makes it hard to plan. And beyond the immediate price fluctuations, there's that looming concern about fewer new homes being built. And that could have a lasting impact on housing availability in Ottawa.
We've seen how something that seems so far removed, something like international trade, can have a real impact on people's lives, on their decisions about something as fundamental as housing. It's complex, it's messy, and it's full of both challenges and potential opportunities.
It's a great illustration of how connected our local economy is to the global economy. What happens on the world stage really does trickle down and affect us here at home.
And as you're navigating this landscape, here's a final thought. We tend to fixate on how these tariffs and interest rates will affect prices in the short term. But maybe, just maybe, the bigger impact, the one that sticks around, is on the number of new homes we build. That, in turn, shapes how the city grows and develops. It's worth keeping that bigger picture in mind as we move forward. So stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll be back soon with another deep dive.
See you then.